Welcome, welcome. I think we're here. We're just right at 8 o'clock and we've got lots of good questions. And so I'm going to just start. I'm just going to start. And then you guys, if you come in, hi, everybody. If you have questions, we'll go back. But I've got a lot and I don't want to go past these 20 minutes. I want to keep it in these 20 minutes. Okay, so let's get started. Question number 1. The question is about a kimono sleeve, and I think this picture is going to tell you a lot of what you need to know. I've talked a lot about lapping and gapping when you lap the folded arm onto it. So you're going to do one of two things. You can see the gap there. You're either going to take the seam allowance away from the shoulder and do both with no seam allowances and then add seam allowance, or you're going to leave the sleeve down a little bit so that when you add the seam allowance, you can see that it will all taper. So it's just a small detail. I just wanted to show you. But basically when you lap it on, it should have no seam allowance. So the sleeve doesn't have a seam allowance on the folded edge, and you should take the seam allowance away from the top that you're lapping it on. But if you don't, you can just do that little gap right there, and that will help you. Okay? Okay, second question. I watched the Q&As and saw my answer, so we're going to kind of go back to this a little bit. She was saying that she realized it was a circumference issue. LCD is my mantra, length, circumference, depth, but she didn't understand. So these 4 photos side by side, I think this is a very important point, so I wanted to go back to it. Is when you take a dart in, see all these wrinkles, and I told you guys to take a dart in the side seam and taper to nothing. She felt like it would change the bottom of the length. It does not change the hem. And in fact, the whole reason I want to point this out is this is a critical issue. Some of you think it will change the hem, where the fact of the matter is it will take away the gapping and not change the hem. So this gapping occurs because the exact point is that length, that problem, that depth issue does not transfer to the bottom. It stays right where it is. And so that's why we're fixing it right where it is, so that the length of the garment will be even and it will stay like it is. Otherwise there wouldn't be gaps internally. Everything would fall to the bottom and we could just cut it off at the bottom. But the fact of the matter is that doesn't happen. Okay? So that's a very important, very, very important principle to understand, and I wanted to make sure we went over that. Okay. So you guys, I have so many questions here. I'm going to have to give priority to the questions here. And then if we have time, I'll come back to these questions. But the best thing to do for questions is to send them to me, Peggy@silhouettepatterns.com, because that way I have a chance to draw them out, and this can become really meaningful. But I think to just explain verbiage is just too hard, or it doesn't get through to you all. It doesn't do as well, if that makes sense. Okay, so this next question is again, thanks for answering my questions. It's a follow through from last week. She didn't understand some of the technology, possibly. So sometimes we can say you can do this out of a knit or woven. She understands that you change out the sleeve, but what does it do to the body? So I kind of wore this as an example. This is 611. You guys saw this in the webcast that I did Tuesday night. This is made out of Dolce & Gabbana's knit, and I love this. And so you can see that it's bigger on me because I chose in this particular top, even though it's a knit, I chose not to have negative ease. I don't have to have negative ease in all my garments. So with this, I have the same ease that I would have in a blouse. I did not go down a size. It's just bigger. So it's okay. So when you go to do the body, knit or woven, you decide how much ease you want in that garment. But the sleeve, if you do the sleeve, that's what I'm saying. If I were to have done the sleeve in a knit, when it's a woven pattern, it will look too sloppy. So I just wanted to clarify that and hope that that makes sense. Okay, so when you go to do that, you're good to go. Okay, next question. So I say we got a lot of questions tonight, you guys. I want to read this, and I want you to have patience in my reading this because I think it's really, there's a lot of positive things in here. I have a challenge. I'm attempting 195 and discovered I needed a rounded back adjustment, which I made. And I'm going to kind of cut through some of this. I've lost 75 pounds post-cancer, twice. But she has lymphedema, which is just an enlarging of her left arm, which typically happens post-cancer. For those of you who are maybe don't know that, many of us know that because we have experience with it. My left arm bicep is 22, my right is 19. Okay. So basically what she wants is she wants to see suggestions for sleeves. So this is our sleeve addendum, and I wanted to put these up. First off, let me say, gosh, congratulations for making it through all of that and having the will to keep going, because that's a lot of it, is just sheer will to keep going. But I wanted you to see these different sleeves because I purposely did them to have decorative, beautiful sleeves. Like something like this, the waterfall. Your arm might be big around, but it's not. You've still got probably very pretty shoulders. Shoulders stay with us for many, many years. So I thought it was a good way to show off the shoulders. Let me just say, if the two arms are different, do different sizes on the different sleeves. Don't try to do both sleeves the same, and don't do both armholes the same. Do them both according to the sleeve. Just use it like you're sewing two different kinds of bodies. This twisted sleeve, again, look how it gives a vertical line to a sleeve. And so the whole idea of that twist is it gives a very nice vertical slimming line because it divides the sleeve into two. The ribbed one, the next one, one of the things she said, I didn't read it all, but one of the things she said is that her wrist was very small, but her upper arm was very large. So this is a great case where ribbing at the bottom will really help you bring in a full sleeve. You can make that sleeve as big as you want, and then the ribbing will help bring it in, and it will look very natural. The next one, you see the full sleeve, that again is larger up at the top, and it will do a beautiful job of camouflaging a larger arm. And then the two-piece sleeve, using the inside of a black and the outside of a different color. Use those two pieces for your benefit, and they are very slimming to an arm. Now, this is a pattern that's a supplement to 195. You don't need to buy this. My suggestions are simply that look at the whole reason I did this is to give us slimming sleeves that were decorative. Okay? All right, let's go on to the next one. Okay. I want to add a flare to 4218. How do I do that? So 4218 is this one. It's a princess sheath dress. The princess seams you can't see here because of the way we did it, but we're going to go to the one where you can see it. And this is the back, the line drawing. So when you're adding fullness, you're going to add it at all the side seams. 1, 2, 3, 4. I actually counted the side seam again. It's not really. It's because that's a side. 1's a side seam and 4 is a side seam. So you can't count 5 and 8 at the same time. But you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places to add and 2 sides to each place. So that's 12 places to add circumference or flare or fullness. So you take the fullness you want, let's say 60 inches. You take the fullness that's there. We're going to use 40 inches as an example. That's 20 inches that I want to add. I divide 20 by the 6 places, and you can see, there are 12 places, I'm sorry. You can see it's just a little bit over an inch for each of those places. So flare is very easy to add. It's very easy to take away. The most important thing is that I know where I am and where I'm going. If I don't know those two things, you guys, I'm going to end up doing a lot of trial and error, and it's going to take me a lot of time. And I hate you spending time on things that you shouldn't be. There's some things you need to spend time on. There's some things that just need patience, but there's a lot of things that don't need patience. They just need you to measure what you want, where you're at, divide the difference. Okay, the next one then we're going to go to is, I made the cargo pants a number of times. This is her cargo pant. She's unhappy with this wrinkle that's in the back leg. I hope you can see that's in the back. So the question is, what does she do with it? Okay, here's her muslin. Now you can see in her muslin, she's already taken out this dart twice. So what that tells you is when you're taking away too much in one place, that tells you you're not doing it, you're doing something incorrect. So what I want, and this muslin, this picture of this muslin really helps me because you can see there's nothing taken out here. There's nothing taken out in the hip line, which is the original place she should be taking out that fullness. That's the number one place we go to in fitting pants is the hip line. And there's nothing taken out here. And because there's nothing taken out here, what's happening is it's putting too much stress on the crotch line. So take some out here. Take some out at the hip line. Even if you can't take it out at the hip line, you add to the crotch depth so that you can take some out there and then follow it up with the darts under here. Most likely you probably won't need to fix this. I'm sorry, I'm saying this when you can't see my cursor, and I apologize for you not being able to see my cursor. You want to be sure that, again, all the changes that are at the crotch line are overkill because there's no changes being made at the hip line. Changes at the hip line come first. If you can't make changes at the hip line, you add to the crotch depth so that you can make changes, and then you'll see that this will be cleaned up. I know that will make sense to her because we've kind of gone back and forth with this. It'll make sense to everybody if you get into it a little bit. But sometimes when you just hear me throw out those words, crotch length, crotch depth, they just turn around circles in your brain. Okay, the next one is about a rounded back. And with a rounded back, what she has said is that she has already done 2 changes. She's working on a particular pattern, and it's a shawl collar, and she's made one open and she's made a second open. What does she do? Does she open these up more? Does she go to a third one? These should be open no more than 1 inch. If it's not doing the job, then yes, you add a third one. Again, don't go more than 1 inch in each increment, and that should take care of it. I'm going to answer this question coming in because it's from, it's appropriate to this pant. When you add to the crotch depth, you add all the way around the top. Yes, you drop it down so that you can take some out of that hip line. Basically what's happening is the crotch depth is so short that you can't fix it, and it's leaving all to be the problem of the crotch length or the inseam, and that's not fair. It's too much overload on that inseam. And I think you understand that. All right, so let's go on. And make sure you understood that rounded back, because that is, like I say, that is, the increments are important, and how big those increments are is important. We don't want to get too big, and we can add. But we don't want to add below the shoulder blade. It's got to be above the shoulder blade or it's not going to do any good. Okay. This is number 9. Okay, and the reason I'm going to show this is the question is if she had, the funds are too tight or she can't take both classes. So one is an online class and one is a DVD. All right? The online class affords interaction of questions and answers. The DVD always allows questions and answers here. It's just a little different form. I'm a big believer. She said, would you compare the two? Compare the content. It is LCD, it's LCD, it's LCD. I think that I find that we all learn differently and we all learn in layers. And because we learn differently, you have to really decide what is the best learning style for you and then make the appropriate choice. I'm a big believer that this is not hard information. You guys simply need to stop your busy lives, and watch. And I know I say that very simply, but I completely understand that that's a very difficult thing to do. When I am in workshops, hands-on workshops, what I find is that women have taken the time to stop their busy lives and they can hear me. I'm not saying anything different. In fact, they say to me all the time, oh my gosh, you've said this a million times. I get it. I finally get it. I think they finally get it because they stop their busy lives. And I know that's a hard thing to do. I get it. I'm so busy as well. I get that. But I think sometimes we have to take a pause and say, this is what I've got to do right now. I can tell you that I get so much enjoyment out of sewing. I personally get so much enjoyment out of sewing. I get so much enjoyment out of knowing what I'm doing and understanding the concepts and moving forward. That's why I love teaching. The goal is to help you do the same thing because I know how much I get out of it. Okay, so this next question is the Brett chart. The Brett chart is like an Excel spreadsheet. It's on the website. If you go to FAQs, FAQs are at the very top of the page. There's home, tips and tricks, FAQs. If you go to FAQs and click on that, in the middle, it says, why don't you have body measurements? And at the bottom of that, why don't you have body measurements, there's a view chart. That is the Brett chart. Now, the reason we did that was to give you a very quick, easy access to what measurements are important, fill them in, carry it with you, have it all the time. Okay, so the question is, could you make us a chart or something that has what is the cap line, what is the hip line, what is the, what are all these visual, what are the places you should be measuring? And I'm going to come back with those are just readily accessible. What I really want to do here, see, we're at 17 minutes in already and I started at 8 o'clock. So these questions and answers, I don't want to be long because I want to get in as much as we can. Those things that are readily available, I don't think they belong here. I think you can get them. You can go Google, but the things that Google won't answer correctly, those are things that I want to bring in here. And I think that that's just an excellent separation so that we can get the most impact out of these questions and answers, if that makes sense. Okay, so this next question now is, she's looking at a collar and she wants to know how to do it. This is clearly pattern making. This is not what we do here. We do have a video called Basic Pattern Making. But just to guide you along, this is pattern 924. 924 is, it's a PBS pattern. It is Polo's top. Ralph Lauren does this neckline a lot. It's just this part has been changed. So her question is just really, where does she start? She knows she'll have to do trial and error. And see, again, trial and error is cut short with knowledge. Knowledge cuts short trial and error. And you all know that. With anything, knowledge cuts short trial and error. But this is 924 would be your starting base. Polo's best top, I think is the name of it. And then, of course, how wide it is has changed and the stand-up has changed on it. And then I wanted to show you this other one because she wanted to do this one also. This is 1950. This is or any of our princess seams with a shawl collar. You could do Hugo's cardigan. There's quite a few you could do. Then you're just going to change that white design line that's going through the center there. So again, in pattern making, I think it is natural for us to, especially as we get better as in fitting, I think I'm a big believer that fitting is the very first critical tool of enjoying sewing. Otherwise we quilt because it's no fun to make things that don't look good on us. It's no fun to not be able to control those variables so that we can make things look good on us. Once we understand that control and we can make things that look amazing on us, then we want to start to make our own. We want to start to do our own patterns. We want to start to do all those things that take it up another notch. So that's the goal. That's the sequence that I'm trying to go in. So this is the Q&As. This is really about fitting. It's really about, all that miscellaneous stuff that really helps us enjoy the process more and take it up a notch. Okay, I'm going to go back to this question that Cove Miller asked. I understand taking a dart in the front of a two-piece sleeve. Please help me understand why the sleeve on the chic dress has a dart on the back. Doesn't that shorten the back? Yes, but what it does is it changes the angle. So it's all about changing the angle of the sleeve. So the dart is there in the original. It's moved into the seam when you do a two-piece sleeve. So therefore that's why it's brought into the front when you're shortening, when you're changing the angle of a two-piece sleeve. But on the original sleeve, the dart in the back changes the angle. The way it's drafted is the dart in the back is your control. And I know that's a little vague. I could do better on that, and I apologize. So, but we are at our 20 minutes, and let me answer any miscellaneous questions. But my concern is that you guys go in to watch a question and answer, and it takes you an hour to get through a question, and I just don't want that. I want this to be a quick access place where we can get those questions answered. Okay, and if it's not what you all want and need, let me know that too, because I can do all kinds of things that I think will work, and if they don't work, then it's not a positive. All right, so let me know, and we'll just give it a few minutes. I really appreciate y'all being here. I'm leaving here to go sew. I've got so much sewing that I want to do. I can't wait to do it, and these busy lives get in the way. Hi, everybody. You guys, look how many of you are here. It's awesome. Okay, anything I can answer? Leslie, did you understand that? Did you understand that question that I gave you? I mean, did you understand that answer? Okay. Everybody, let's see. You got it all, you guys? All right. Let's go sew. We love you. We want you to sew. We want you to sew for yourselves. We want you to sew great tops. I love this top. Love this top. Love the fabric. Love everything in it. It's so soft I could easily crawl into bed with it, but I won't. I promise I won't. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Okay, yes. Happy sewing to all of you. And we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we have the sew along, and we'll see you tomorrow. For those of you who didn't get questions answered, who need questions answered, just shoot me an email, and then we'll be here 2 weeks. 2 weeks from tonight, we'll be here and we'll answer those questions. All right. See you tomorrow. Bye.